Each night, as we close our eyes and slip away from the waking world, we may enter an even richer one, the elusive realm of dreams.
I don't know anybody who isn't fascinated by dreams. I mean, they are outrageous events in our lives.
They can be bewildering, terrifying, inspiring. But do they mean anything? Are dreams the nonsensical byproduct of a sleeping brain, or a window into our unconscious mind, rich with revelations? After more than a century of searching, scientists may finally be nearing an answer by literally watching dreams unfold and testing their impact on both our sleeping and waking lives.
Dreaming is a process, and not only is it useful, it might be essential for making sense of the world.
What are dreams?
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension, as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your hosts, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broadcasting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal and Beyond. When it comes to dreams and dreams alone, they have fascinated philosophers for thousands of years, but only recently have dreams been subjected to empirical research and concentrated scientific study. From the prophetic and reoccurring dreams right down to the bold, chilling nightmares that haunt our minds, chances are that you have often found yourself puzzling over the mysterious content of a specific dream, or perhaps left you wondering why you even dream at all. Exactly what purpose does dreams serve, and can they be a subconscious window into our futures? In a moment, renowned author DeBord, who has been studying and interpreting dreams for the last 2 decades, will be joining us on the program to help us all understand the meaning and symbology behind the elusive movies that play within our heads while we sleep. So get ready as we all now travel to dreamland with DeBord when we return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places, and more can be found at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com. Knights with a K, ParanormalResearchSociety.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com.
Dream on, dream away. I think I'm gonna have to stay.
Will you please be quiet?
News, talk, information radio. AM 1230. KLAV. Las Vegas.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like I can tell you right now, I believe in the paranormal more than I believe in our government.
There are so many mysteries out there that are still yet to be explained.
You folks have some of your facts wrong, and you just keep talking about generalities.
With all due respect, sir, you have not brought anything to the table to prove us wrong.
This is the Paranormal and Beyond, and it's your show. Call us at 731-1230. Here again, Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight.
Welcome back to another brand new edition of the Paranormal and Beyond. But first, be sure to check us out at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, where you can link up to all the past shows by simply clicking on that archive link above. That's Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Ever want to get in acting? Well, you can by logging on to HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Once again, that's HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Special shout out to all those listening online through the KLAV 1230am.com website, and all those driving around in the Vegas Valley listening to us on your stereos. I'm your host, Michael Knight. Joined alongside of me is your hostess, Lindsay Knight, your radio vigilantes, giving you the best in paranormal talk radio, one broadcast at a time. Also, as a reminder out there for everybody, next week is your chance to win tickets to the official Paranormal Activity, the Marked Ones movie screening release by Paramount Pictures. We will be giving out free prizes, t-shirts, hats, and all that goody stuff. And we will be on location, and you can meet the entire cast of the Paranormal and Beyond, as well as we kick off the movie. And the predecessor to the movie will be October, where the official Paranormal Activity 5 will be released, and we'll be there as well. All right, how you doing, Lindsay?
Doing well, Michael. How are you?
Oh, great. We got a great show coming up, because to me, it hits home because I believe in my dreams, because the abilities, and to me, it's prophetic when I have dreams. But everybody has dreams, so it's a good market. We touch everybody out there. All right, so let's get into our main topic. J.M. DeBord began studying and interpreting dreams 2 decades ago, and now one of his personal dreams came true with the publication of Dreams 1, 2, 3, Remember, Interpret, and Live Your Dreams, on which is a groundbreaking book that makes dreams understandable for everyone, as well as showing how they can be used for your benefit in everyday life. DeBord's publishing career began 25 years ago, working in newspaper, radio, and television journalism, where he is also the author of the novel Something Coming, a New Age thriller. DeBord currently lives in Tucson, Arizona, where he continues to interpret dreams as a moderator at Reddit Dreams, where he is known as Radal. The Paranormal and Beyond would like to welcome to the program J.M. DeBord, or Radal. Welcome.
Michael. Hey, it's great to be here.
All right.
Hi, Lindsay.
First of all, how did you get that name, Radal? Sounds kind of like Indian.
It was an old phone number that a friend remembered me by that name, and I started using it as kind of an online nickname, and it sort of stuck. You know, it's the Radical Owl, and I tend to study subjects that are a little off the beaten path, and dreams being one of them. So, yeah, it was a nickname that stuck.
So well, I guess we're both going to ask you the same thing. How did you get into, specializing in dreams?
Well, it started about 20 years ago. I was in college and approaching my 4th year of studying, and I found myself losing steam, kind of hitting a wall. I wasn't going to my classes as much. I wasn't as enthusiastic about it. And I decided that I needed to go see someone to get some help about it. And I was told by people, well, hey, if you want to follow your dreams, then you just need to be better organized, maybe more disciplined. And the answers weren't really, resonating inside. So I went to see a counselor named Larry Pesavento. And Larry asked me about my dreams, as in the dreams I had at night. And it started from there. He showed me that dreams have meaning to them, and that by understanding that meaning, it can give you guidance for your life. And naturally, when I learned that about dreams, I just, I took to it and really learned everything that I could find out about the subject, and started with the godfathers of dream science like Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, and kind of worked my way all the way up through, the contemporaries. And so now I find myself here today with you and on your show as a dream expert.
Well, go
Okay,
ahead.
when people tell other people, live out your dreams, your interpretation of that is literally live out your dreams.
Yes, I think that within those sayings, like, live your dreams, follow your dreams, make your dreams come true, I think that there's literal advice there, which is that your dreams are really the best source of information that you can get about where's the best place to go in your future and what kind of person you want to be. And I mean, they can literally address any area of your life. And by understanding them, you really can learn to live your dreams or follow them. I just read the other day that Larry Page, the co-founder of Google, woke up. He was a graduate student, and he woke up in the middle of the night, and he had this idea in his mind that you could download the entire internet and index it. And at the time, nobody was doing anything like that yet. And he ended up that being the inspiration for Google. So it just goes to show that if you pay attention to and listen to your dreams, then they could open up all sorts of possibilities for you.
Well, you touched on a key subject here when you said earlier that you said that, what's it called? It's, I mean, like literally living your dreams. I mean, do you have to is it part of your subconscious that comes to form? But that is that really what dreams are about? I mean, there is a deeper meaning.
Sure. Yeah, I think that they show you glimpses of the future. I think that they show you possibilities for the kind of person that you can become and the places where you can end up in your life. It comes from another side of the mind, the unconscious mind, which has this larger picture of you than just what you know about yourself consciously. In fact, Carl Jung compared it to an iceberg. He said what's above the surface, which is the part of yourself that you know, that's your conscious side, and underneath the surface is this huge potential. I mean, it's not just potential, it's there. It's something that is potential for you to sort of make more real in your life and to make conscious about yourself. So in many ways, dreams can sort of paint a big picture for you and then help you take the steps to filling in the details.
Okay, when it comes to the scientific community, and you know how they are, a lot of them state that dreams are basically just a collection of your everyday views in life, what you heard, what you've seen, and they're just, I guess it's your mind dumping out information while you rest. However, you have other dreams where they are prophetic, as myself. Or reoccurring dreams that keeps telling you something, hitting you over the head with a bat and says, you better pay attention. Now that, to me has a lot of meaning, but it takes a lot of training, right?
Well, I think that it's been made to be more complicated than it really is. There's a place for the scientific study of dreams, and many do report that, from those studies, report that the majority of what people dream about is just sort of everyday content. If you spend a lot of time driving around the city, you're probably going to spend a lot of time in your dreams driving around the city. But there are also dreams that come along that are deeply meaningful, and there is more than a century of science which has clearly shown connections between the dreamers and then their dreams and the sort of symbolism, the dreams that's sending them messages. It's not just sort of random imagery floating behind your mind. It's not just memories sorting process, like sorting through your memories and deciding what's going to sort of stay in long-term storage and what you can discard and what's most important. There's a lot of layers to it, and I think that arguments are made against the meaning of dreams based upon certain dreams that are, obviously come from physical stimuli. Like you dream that a dog is gnawing off your arm, and you wake up and find that you fell asleep on your arm, and it's half dead, and you can't feel it. And they say, well, then that must mean that all dreams are just, the result of some kind of physical or biological, process going on. When that only explains, some dreams, it doesn't explain the ones that are, prophetic or profound or life-changing, or just the sort of dreams that guide you in your everyday life towards reaching your goals.
Well, if you look at that, when you mention the arm sleeping, it's amazing that there's something more to that, because to me, the body can't exist without the mind, and therefore the mind is interpreting your arm sleeping. while you're even unconscious. And that's amazing in itself. But there are a lot of dreams out there. And let's get to the one everybody talks about, everybody is familiar with because they had it. And that's called the nightmares. And these are very terrifying for a lot of people. Some are recurring and some are very scary where it traumatizes them in their conscious mind when they're awake.
Yeah, and they're very commonly reported over at Reddit Dreams, where I'm a moderator and I interpret, many, many dreams over there, and I have an idea of what people are dreaming every night. And I can tell you that nightmares are a very, not super common theme, but yeah, everybody has them. And really, the way you can look at nightmares is they are more powerful dreams, and therefore the message behind them is in some way more urgent, or it's turned chronic. It's something that's been going on for a long time. I found that nightmares are actually kind of a last resort, that you will have had other dreams about the same subject that were gentler, and when that didn't spur you to action, then the dreaming mind knows that you need some shock therapy, and so it sends you these really dramatic images that often make you very emotionally involved. They can make you fear for your life. And that is, it's necessary to engage you in this story that is being told to you by your dream, and for you to get the point of it, because that is the point of having a nightmare. There's something that's trying to be communicated to you, and it's gotten very urgent so that you get the message.
When people have dreams as well, when they say, well, I dreamt in color, but I also dreamt in black and white, and I've only dreamt in black and white, and I don't ever remember dreaming in color. What is that?
Well, about 40% of the population, studies have shown, and I want to throw that 40% number out there with a caveat that I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it was somewhere in the ballpark there. They dream in black and white. They don't dream in color. And it's interesting also that before color television, that number was much higher, that people dreamed more in black and white. And I think that, because of television being almost a medium, almost like television in a way, you're in a semi-hypnotic state, when you're watching television, and you're also in your dreams, and it's almost like a form of hypnosis. It's like convincing yourself that this imagery in your mind is true and it's actually going on, So I think that it has a powerful effect on what you dream. And then these days, of course, it's more than TV. You've got media saturation coming at you from all directions. So, of course, that's working its way into dreams and their content.
Would you put dreams, as far as being scientific, because everybody has them, more into like a metaphysical, paranormal kind of thing? Because a lot of the dreams out there, they tend to go beyond the realms of our understanding, not scientifically, but paranormally.
Yeah, or metaphysically. I, as a moderator and as someone who's been interpreting dreams for 20 years, I can tell you that most of them are fairly what you might call normal. They really are about sort of the everyday events that are going on in a person's life. And I think that we all reach sort of crossroads or junctions in our lives where really important decisions are being made that's going to affect our future. And I notice that those are the times of life when dreams become much more meaningful, and they seem to reach into a pool of information that's not available to you consciously. They can kind of see into the future in a way. I mean, I've run across many dreams and had them myself that see into the future, and it's a way of helping me to make choices and decisions about what's coming up in my life.
It's not totally accepted, though, in mainstream.
No.
Oh, no, not at all. And in fact, I'm writing another book where I want to address this, because I think that it's important for us to get to the bottom of it. Carl Jung proposed a mechanism for this called the collective unconscious. And it went through all the scientific circles, and it wasn't accepted everywhere. But for a long time, you could call it mainstream. There was a whole vein of study that went off of his ideas about the collective unconscious being a sort of collective mind where we're all having our individual experiences, but it's sort of like this mainframe server where all of this information is processing through and being stored. So in a way, your own mind connects you to a larger mind. And so it's not just something that's metaphysical. There's been some science behind it. I just find so many people who want to deny it, and when you bring it up that that Carl Jung studied this and many others have studied it, you get no response from them, other than they try to set up straw man arguments and attack them as fraudsters or not following the scientific method. But I remind them that people are subjective, and even psychology itself is a soft science. it's not a hard science because the variable of people can't be predicted, you know? So trying to get some kind of hard data on dreams being able to predict the future, you know, you have to go with a preponderance of evidence, which I feel is out there, but not everyone feels that way.
You would think, because this has been happening since our existence, that it should be the number one thing, because it is very mystical in itself, and there's so many types of dreams. And now, do you get a lot of this on your blog and people asking about the visitation dreams? Now, these are the dreams where, you know, a relative, a friend, and I'm talking about a deceased relative friend, comes and talks to them. How much credence in your investigation that that's actually occurring?
Well, I think most of the time that it's symbolism. That the person that comes to you in the dream is a product of your unconscious mind, you know, and for some reason your dream is using them to convey something, either symbolism in the story, or oftentimes I find that it's direct messages. You know, I just ran across one today of, you know, somebody who was dreaming about a father that hadn't been, you know, had passed away long ago, being involved in this scene in a dream, and it really it almost sounded like, you know, like the father was really there in some way, but I had to interpret it more as that being a symbol or like a marker for the story. But I do run across many other examples of this, and there are times that I've interpreted it as being some kind of actual contact between souls. Now, as a scientist, I didn't really, you know, or someone who's scientifically trained, I didn't get, for many years, I kind of avoided the subject, or I didn't give it much credence, but then I started reading the works of Edgar Cayce, and Cayce said that sometimes when you dream about somebody, a deceased loved one, that there is actual contact between souls, basically. And it's often between parents and children, or spouses, people who are very close. And it sort of facilitates a communication. There's sometimes that problems can be resolved. Now, this is whether it's actual contact or it's a dream. Like, the purpose of it really seems to be to, like, you know, get over guilt, get on with your life, resolve old problems, or many of them I've run across just seem to be like to sort of say goodbye in a way that shows the person, you know, healthy and happy, and conveying a sort of message that allows the living, at least, you know, the living who are here, that it allows them to move on with their lives knowing that their loved ones are in a good place. So to make a long, you know, to kind of shorten the answer, I think most of the time it's symbolism. It's helping you work through something that's related to the passing of that person, or missing, or the loss of them, you know. And I think that every once in a while that it is actual contact with, shall we say, the next life.
Fascinating. That is fascinating. Okay, here's another one. Inspirational dreams. These are dreams when you have a crisis or something, or you have a test, or you're trying to figure out an answer to something, and you get the answer, and it just comes to you, or just anything. You're going out for a job interview, and you wake up feeling good, and these are like the dreams that put you in check and gives you the knowledge you need that you've been worrying about the night before.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that they act as sort of a dry run through situations that are coming up that might be stressful, or that you just sort of need to run through it in your mind first. You know, an example, I heard that it was on TV. It was a football game, and a guy had just made the game-winning catch, and he was being interviewed by the TV, you know, reporter on the sidelines, and, you know, all the people are cheering in the background. He's just won the big game, and he goes, you know, I had a dream last night where I saw exactly the last play. I'm dashing down the sideline, ball goes up in the air, it's a long bomb, I'm out running the cornerback, boom, ball's in my hands, I run in the end zone, I win the game. He said he saw it exactly in the dream, that it played out exactly that way in his life. And I think there are times that dreams can help prepare you for what's coming up. Or, you know, there's other famous examples that I use in my book. One that I like to cite often because he's a favorite author of mine is Stephen King. He scavenges, this was his wording, he scavenges dreams for material, for his plots and his characters and the settings and all this. And he even has had times that entire plot lines have come to him, like the story Misery. You know, he's an author who's gone off the side of the road. He gets rescued by his number one fan, you know, and she turns out to be a little more than what he was bargaining for, and he has this life and death struggle with her. Well, he had some kind of a dream that was very similar to that, and it ended up being the plot that he wrote out for, you know, for that story. So it's just one example of many of how dreams can bring you tremendous inspirations.
Now, when people go to sleep at night, they don't know if they're going to dream or not. Sometimes people wake up and they didn't dream anything, and then there's nights where they dreamt 3 days straight, and they have like cryptic messages in each dream, but they can't figure out what it is. I recall that last year alone, I really delved into this whole dreaming, thing with like the Carl Jung and everything. And so I got a crystal because I was reading that maybe crystals help. So I had this crystal, and every night, and I said, well, let me see. I don't know if I'm going to dream tonight, but I don't know if you can tap into it or not. And every night for a whole week, I actually had a dream, and it was, I could actually remember when I woke up in the morning, and I was like, wow, it's never been so vivid.
Well, that's the question I want to ask. How long does dreams stay in your memory when you wake up? Is there a time frame?
It's considered, within about 10 minutes that if you haven't tried to think about your dreams, that the memories will probably disappear. But for every sort of rule of thumb like that, I've run across exceptions, like a guy I know of who he remembers his dreams when he goes to bed at night because he's returning to his sleep position. Now, Lindsay, I think that because you gave attention to your dreams,
which
that
is
you were
so
giving them the
strange
special
for
attention
me.
and because it was strange for you, it sparked the dreams. You paid more attention to it. You kind of gave yourself a subconscious suggestion. It's known that when people have gone into like dream-based therapy, the therapist will say, okay, well, if you have any dreams, after they have the introduction, they meet each other, and the therapist says, hey, if you have a dream, that really sticks out to you, I want you to write it down and bring it to me the next time we meet. And there are so many times that a person will be like, I haven't dreamed anything worth remembering in years, and all of a sudden, boom, and they come into the, counseling office with this dream, and it ends up becoming a kind of a point of departure for them to work together, So I think that you can give yourself a subconscious suggestion. I've had people tell me that reading my book helped them to remember their dreams, not because I give good advice about it, but because it simply made their mind, it put it forefront in their mind. I think that if you give it attention, and you give it energy, that it feeds back to you.
And I truly believe that because I have like a whole collection of dream books, and I actually like verbatim, went through each step, like what you can do to, try to tap into your dreams, what have you, because, I had a lot going on. So I wanted to say, okay, well, let me see if there's anything that I can, like see in the future or what have you. So every time before I went to bed, I made sure that, okay, I'm going to remember my dream, or I'm going to dream tonight. And I don't know, I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I had a vivid dream. And then the next night, and this went on for a week, and then it hasn't happened since because I hadn't paid attention to it after that.
Yeah, that's right. And it's okay that you go through periods of it. I think that when you have time to devote to your dreams and there's something that's really important there for you, I think that you're kind of naturally led in that direction, that you give it the time and energy. There are some people who do it every day, and there are some people who it's just sort of when they need it, Sort of some people pray that way too, So I think it's okay, It's like it's saying that you have other priorities when you're sleeping. I find that there are times that I can go for, a week or more, and I really don't remember anything strong from my dreams. And I'll notice that I tend to be either like busy or drained during those times in a way that, I can't give the energy to it. But then I'll get some time off or go on a vacation or something, and all of a sudden I have time, and boom, the dreams are there.
So therefore, everybody does dream, even when they say they can't.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody dreams. Studies have shown that you go through 5 to 8 periods of dreaming every night, depending on how long you sleep. And people who are woken up, like even people who steadfastly insisted that they did not dream at all, ruling out that there is not like some kind of brain damage or certain kinds of problems that can lead to the actual somebody not dreaming. But these are extremely rare cases. Except for in those cases, everybody dreams. It's just that most of the time you don't remember them. 5 to 8 times a night, depending on how long you sleep. You have cycles of sleep that last for 90 minutes, and each one of those cycles you're going to have a REM stage. And with each successive cycle, you will have longer REM stages. That's why early in sleep I find that dreams they tend to not be meaningful unless I'm like napping or something, But if I've actually gone to bed at my normal time, early in the night my dreams are just sort of hashing out through the day, sorting memories, running biological processes. Then later, after I've had successive sleep cycles, my REM stages get longer, and then that's when I can, really like engage with the story and remember my dreams. And even for people who don't remember their dreams, if they're woken as their eyes are fluttering and they're having REM sleep, studies have shown that almost every one of them will remember their dreams at that point. But they have to be woken right as they're having them.
All right, here's a question I got to ask, because I know if I don't ask this, people are going to beat me up for it.
Okay.
What are the dreams when you're falling?
That it's a very common dream theme, falling and flying, and they both kind of have the same symbolism behind them, which is life can take flight, or, you can fall in a figurative sense, like there's a fallen state of being. There's, sort of the feeling of having the rug pulled out from under you, not having ground to stand on. I had falling dreams in my 20s that I night after night, it wasn't like every night, but it was a recurring theme, enough for me to really notice it before I had started really studying dreams. And finally one night I hit the ground, and I felt it in my body when I woke up, like I had, fallen from a height and hit the ground hard. I felt bruised and sore. And it turned out that it was a metaphor for hitting bottom. That there was a time, it was like the way I was living, I'd had enough of it. I had to turn everything around. I'd hit bottom, and so then everything was up from there. But yeah, falling it's symbolism like most things in dreams.
Well, I have to ask you this since you're the expert on dreams. I've had different scenarios, but numerous times I've had dreams about fish and water. What is that?
Wow. Well, it's funny, as I was interpreting a dream today, or helping to interpret one. It was about a guy who'd learned to, in his dreams, he was breathing water. He learned how to breathe water in his dreams. And it turned out that he was a swimmer and he loved water. And I was like, well, I think this is symbolism for you sort of being so natural in the water that you sort of breathe the stuff. The dream is saying that you've become a really accomplished swimmer. Or you've become really comfortable in the water in a way that a fish would be. So that's one of the things that you could look at as symbolism. I would ask, do you swim a lot, or do you have a relationship with water, But fish can also, I've seen it represent Christian symbolism, that there's the fish design. You see them on bumper stickers and stuff, And I've also found that it can represent good eating. It's a good source of protein. It kind of depends on your associations with fish. And you think about the fish in the dream and you go, well, if it looks like a big salmon, you might think that it's like suggesting that it's healthy food. But if it's a catfish, it might be saying that somehow you're kind of going along the bottom of your feelings, But then there's also the fish are sort of instinctual creatures, and often they live in schools, so it can describe sort of group activity or sort of a hive mind or group mind, It depends on other details from the
right.
dream.
What about dreams where they're duality? You have two people, friends, and they have the exact same dream, and they compare it, and it's spot on, and they actually were in the dream and can recall talking with each other and just basically describing the place they were in.
Yeah, that's right. And I have, for my next book, I already have a sort of a case study with this. It was two people who were close. They discovered that they were having these very similar dreams, and they decided they would test this, and they found that they were having the same characters and scenarios, and the settings of the dreams were all the same, and they said, well, let's test this further. Let's pass information in the dream and see if we remember it when we're awake, and that'll prove to us that we're actually sharing these dreams. Our minds are connected while it's going on. And according to the person who reported this at Reddit Dreams, and then in the conversations that we had afterwards, because I was very interested in this person's experience, they kind of described it to me, and it looked to me, they actually passed the information in their dream, and it was phrases that they knew the other person would not know. One was a completely nonsensical phrase, and the other was a lyric to a song that they knew the other person wouldn't know that song. And they wake up the next day after passing the information in a dream, and sure enough, they got it right. Now, you have to trust that they're reporting this, that they're not just making it up to get attention or something. And in the context of where they were sharing this, it really didn't seem, in the conversations I had with the person, I didn't get a sense they were trying to deceive me. But even then, there are other people like Robert Moss, who's a very famous writer about dreams, who had an experience. I don't think it was his. I think he was describing it in his book of someone very close to them who passed information by writing it down on a slip of paper, putting it into their freezer, and the other person came into the dream, went to the freezer, opened it up, looked at the phrase on the piece of paper, and then, you know, the next day they talk, and it turned out that the person actually got the information correct.
Wow.
You know. So, you know, you could say if it happens once, it's coincidence.
Mind telepathy there.
Yeah, there's something, but I just think that it's something that is rare enough that, and beyond normal experience, that it's very easy to cast stones at it and say, well, you know, there must be an explanation for it because it can't be proven as science. And I go, well, yeah, you're right, you know, and because of that sort of attitude that I run across from it, the sort of people that have past, you know, they have these abilities, they often don't want to go any further. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be researched. They don't want to be part of a study. They don't want their lives disrupted that way. It can even disrupt their relationships with the people they're passing the dreams back and forth with, you know. So, you know, I think that we, for one, need to be more open-minded about the phenomena if it's going to be studied scientifically, and two, really keep in mind that if you're going to subject people to these sorts of experiments that you can get hard data from, you know, maybe respect them a little more and be more open-minded about what they're experiencing, because just because everyone doesn't experience it doesn't mean that a few people don't experience it.
You know, on that same topic of familiarity, there's people who actually live in their dreams. They don't like the world in the conscious world where they go to sleep because they want to go back to the same place. Now, you have a lot of people who dream and they have their familiar places with friends they've never met, and they keep meeting him, hanging out in dreamland.
Yeah,
who
that's right.
are these people?
Well, I think that it's interesting you mentioned this. I just ran across a post at Reddit Dreams lately. It was somebody sharing how their waking life interested them so little that they spent more and more time sleeping. And while they were sleeping, they would have these incredibly vivid dreams that were it was a much more pleasant reality that they wanted to live in than the waking one. So, of course, they're spending more time in their dreams. And I think that dreams can act as a sort of compensation for you. Like if you need a friend, your dream, and you really need a friend, you know, your dreams will create
I don't know if that's
you,
a good comment or not.
Or you need a lover, or you need a boss, or you need a, you know, like your dreams
figure.
can create these things for you, these figures. You need a wise old man to tell you what to do, you know. You need to see your father one more time because he died suddenly, you know. Like your dreams will create these things for you because they recognize that there's a need for it.
You know, there's also, you know, I've gone through this myself, but there's a lot of people who've said, you know, I've had a dream about you, and I don't know why, because you don't even really, you know, have engaged with this other person at all. You see them, you know, maybe, you know, passing through once or twice, and then you'll say, oh my God, I had this like crazy dream about you. Why is that so? And then it's like, well, I was thinking about you too. Is that just like some, you know, mental connection or?
Well, I think that most of the time there's some kind of symbolism that's at play. Like if it's somebody you haven't seen in a long time and you suddenly dream about them, you know, and it's because maybe that person left an impression on you. That is now being used in the story being told by the dream as some sort of symbolism. Like let's say that old friend was really good with money and you've been having money issues, and you look at the dream and they're sort of telling you something about your bank account or your finances or something, and you go, well, that's a pretty strong indication that they're actually in the dream as sort of a projection of a side of me that needs to get a message across about being more like my friend when it comes to money. Now, I have had many other times, like, for instance, where I will dream about someone and then, you know, the phone rings and it's that person, or, you know, vice versa, where there's this sort of this connection, or you know the person's about to call or contact you just before they do. And I think that there is call it sort of a subliminal connection between people where we are aware when somebody is thinking about us or feeling something very strongly for us. Edgar Cayce, according to one of his biographers, predicted to a friend that another person that they both knew was going to come by his office in the next half an hour.
I recall that.
It was to prove, I think it was in The Sleeping Prophet, but he did it as a way of sort of proving that you could do it, to this other person who was quite the skeptic about it. And Casey said, well, all I have to do is think about him strongly enough. But he's like, I don't like to do it very often, but I'll do it for you. I don't like to abuse it, but I'll do it for you. And sure enough, the person came by, and what they said was, well, I sort of dropped by to see you, Edgar. I was going by your office out there on the sidewalk, and I just had this strange feeling that I need to drop in and say hi,
Well, that's the power of thought, right? I mean, having
I think that it's closely connected with dreams, too, because the same faculty of the mind that makes that possible is also in the dream state. And Casey would talk about kind of going into his subconscious and being able to access the subconscious minds of other people. And I think that Jung would call that the collective unconscious, and that's that thing that there are some people who can sort of step outside of it and then tap into some of those main arteries and catch information that isn't available to other people.
Okay, let's get into the dark side of dreams. Now let's talk about night terrors. A lot of people don't like to talk about this. It freaks them out. What are really night terrors? Because some people, they say they're awake, but yet they're sleeping, and it's so lucid that it could practically give anybody an actual heart attack.
Yeah, and most of the time it's sleep paralysis. It's a condition where you wake up, but you're still dreaming. You kind of become aware of what's going on around you, but the dreaming mind is still active. There is a part of the brain, this little nugget deep down inside of it, which it produces dreams. And so there are times when it is still like producing the dreams, but you're actually awake. And I think that when you have something that's very incongruous that's going on, that dream machine will start interpreting it in a way that can be very dark and sinister. So people see, imps, and they see, like succubi and demons and devils and ghosts and poltergeists and all this kind of stuff. And it's a product of the mind. I think that what it's doing is there's something going on where the body is paralyzed, the dreaming mind is producing images, but you are somehow aware that you are awake. And it becomes this very disconcerting experience for the mind, and in response, you get these terrifying images that come up.
Well, for one, because when you wake up in a night terror situation, the first thing that comes to your mind is you can't move. So I guess the brain is trying to interpret that how we're going to make this better. So, there's a lot of people who, the sitting witch on them, they can't breathe, aliens in the room, ghosts walking around, the dead. And so the body is basically going into this shock to try to, put just a definition on what's going on. And the next thing you know is people are in their, I guess, half awake, half asleep state saying, I'm going to try to move my arm. And that's what they do. They try to have the mind catch up with the body.
Yeah, that's right. You focus on breathing. Just relax. Don't worry about moving your body, and just focus on breathing. You can't move your body at that point because there is a paralyzing agent that's released by the mind that allows you to produce the imagery of a dream without it creating responses in your body. So that's why you can run at a full sprint in your dream, but then you're perfectly still in reality, except for times when people thrash their legs. And it shows that some of those nerve impulses are getting out of the dream state and traveling into the body, and the body's trying to respond to it. So and when you can't get your body to move, you focus on your breathing, and then you try to wiggle fingers and toes. I haven't experienced it fully, but I've had enough times that I woke up with some kind of physical stimuli, and the dreaming image was really shocking. Let's say I'd fallen asleep in a chair and I've suddenly stopped breathing. If you've ever slept next to somebody who stops breathing, you'll hear them for 20, 30 seconds at a time, where you're like, there's no air passing here, Yeah. And so your body goes into a state of shock. It's trying to wake you up and get you to move, and it might take quite the jolt to be able to do it. So next thing you know, there's a witch in the room who's batting you upside the head with a broom. Well, that's your dreaming mind knocking you upside the head, telling you to get up, because you can only go so long without oxygen,
Let's talk about one of the more familiar ones, lucid dreaming. What exactly is lucid dreaming?
Well, it's becoming aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, and you become lucid. You can disconnect you can suspend your suspension of disbelief. So you become sort of like in your everyday life, you're able to think, sort of rationally and access your memory, readily the same as when you're awake, except for you're asleep and you're in a dream. And so you at that point you can just sort of consciously go with the dream and let it go wherever it's going, except for you're just extra aware of what's going on. Or you can decide that you want to alter the course of the dream. You can turn it into a sort of a simulation for yourself, a hologram where you can go, okay, well, I've always wanted to know what it'd be like to fly like Superman. So,
and you do it.
If you can convince your mind of it, like Neo making the jump, you have to kind of convince your mind that you're able to do it, and then you can do it. But what I find is that lucid dreaming is for the graduate students. It's for the people who've already worked with their dreams for a while and have a grasp on their meaning. They've sort of taken the advice and used it in their life in a way. And then the next step is lucid dreaming. I find that some people approach it as sort of a something to conquer, and it's not Mount Everest. You can really start to mess with things, deep in your mind if you approach it the wrong way, because lucid dreaming can tap you into parts of yourself that can make you so much more aware of yourself and what's going on in your environment. It changes you in ways very fundamentally. So I think that, that people need to be careful with it.
Well, I had lucid dreaming where I'm in my dream and I said, I know I'm dreaming. So you know what? I'm going to go raise havoc and it becomes my world. I can control everything. If I want, look at that girl. I'm going to, I can do whatever I want to do.
It's the ultimate Grand Theft Auto,
Oh, exactly. And you can get away with everything. But a lot of people, they master that and they can live that. These are the people who like dreaming because it becomes their escape into like fantasy land.
Oh, yeah, sure. Can you imagine, you're able to create this environment for yourself where you can make anything happen and you can be an ant or you can be a god, Now, I think that most of the time it's healthy, but you might have, like, for example, Jared Loughner, who shot up the Safeway in Tucson. He was an experienced lucid dreamer, and it appears that he got lost in that world and started not being able to tell the difference. And it might have led to the psychosis that made him pull out a gun and start shooting people, In fact, I've even heard speculation that he thought he was dreaming when he did it, because in his dream journals, he used to, when a situation would turn in a way that he didn't like, in his lucid dreams, he would just pull out a big old gun and start shooting. It was his way of dealing with frustration. And so in an odd sort of way, whether he thought he was dreaming or it just sort of conditioned him to respond that way, there might be some sort of connection between them. So, it's a reason to be careful with it.
Let's talk about sleepwalking, because a lot of people sleepwalk and it can be very dangerous at times.
Mm-hmm.
What is actually the science behind sleepwalking? Although their body is walking, their mind, they're basically out. Although they can respond, some of them do respond. They say never wake up a sleepwalker. Is that like a night terror, but in motion?
Yeah, I've heard that also, and I think that it's for the safety of the person, unless they're about to walk down some stairs or something, or step on the cat. I would be hesitant to wake up a person who's sleepwalking, because they're acting out what they're seeing in their dreams. They're having this dream, and then their body is actually acting it out for them. And I think that it's the leakage that you can get between the dream state and the body's state, where those nerve signals are leaking through to the body. I've noticed that sleepwalking is often indication of some kind of restlessness in the person. There's something going on in them that it's unresolved. They're looking for answers. The one time I know that I sleepwalked, I was in my late teens, and my father told me that I came into his bedroom and walked around, and he said I was looking for something on the floor. And when he said, what are you doing? And I put my finger to my lips and I said, shh, I'm looking for whatever it was I was looking for, So I was acting out the dream, and I was looking for something, and I've noticed that people tend to report sleepwalking when there's something in their life that is unresolved and it's made them feel restless.
All right, we got time to discuss one more, and this is a big one. What about the mass dreams of prophetic dreams, the atomic bomb going off, the aliens are coming, and everybody, a lot of these people, these are the recurring dreams. It's the disaster, the end times.
Yeah.
What is that one?
I've interpreted a lot of them, and there's quite a few that are in my book that were apocalypse or end of the world sort of dreams, and they all broke down to be symbolism for things that were going on in the dreamers' lives. It was either describing some kind of an external event going on, or it described some kind of an internal event. One person around the fall of 2011, when all the Occupy Wall Street stuff was going on, dreamed of these giant creatures that were in slow motion, that were like devouring all the people, and that they were watching for it, and the person felt very leery of them, and the dreamer associated that with the sort of impersonal powers behind institutions like Wall Street and our military and stuff, that it was reflecting fears that she had that these powers were going to be sparked to action and that it was going to result in large-scale carnage, which thank goodness it didn't. I've had other dreams that were, a guy experienced a sort of apocalypse and aliens are landing, and, then his mom, he finds her hanged in the basement and all this stuff. And it turned out that he was doing some things in his life that was threatening his relationship with his mom. It was something that was alien to him. Think of the larger sense of the word. Dreams love to play with word meanings like this. They'll show you aliens when what they mean is something is foreign to you. It's alien to your experience, He had started doing something that was illegal, and it threatened his relationship with his mom, and it was sort of alien to him, So in most of these dreams that I found of, disaster, apocalypse, or whatever, there's almost always some kind of a disaster or apocalypse going on in the person's life, or it's something that they fear could happen.
The dreams I hate? The dreams I hate is when you find money and you grab it and you wake up and you think you still have it.
That's right.
You're still holding on.
And in a metaphorical sense, you do, because when you find money like that, it's sort of finding resources within yourself. That's what it can symbolize, at least. Like you find some coins on the ground, and it turns out that's exactly how much money you need to pay for something, You might have been doing something in your life that required the inner resources. So I would always take that as a good sign. Well, not always, but it's usually a good sign.
Well, that's what I tell people. When it comes to dreams, a lot of people look at the dream, they look at it straight on, and they have a dream about a boat, and they're on a boat. But I tell people, don't focus on the boat. It's trying to say a vehicle of some kind. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I know how dreams work. It's like if you're looking at something, it doesn't necessarily mean what it stands for.
It's almost always symbolism.
Yeah,
that's right.
It means something, but yet it does have ties to it. But not basically what it means, but what's the best way for people to start practicing?
Start practicing understanding the
Yes.
symbolism? Well, it's for one, I think that there are some books like Man and the Symbols by Carl Jung that are, and there are some really good books about symbolism out there. In my book, I explain it as that really what you want to do is look at the action of the dream, and that tells you what the symbolism means. A symbol by itself can have all sorts of different meanings, and that's why dream dictionaries sort of fall short when they come to trying to explain what your dream means, because all they can do is sort of raise possibilities. And so what you do is you look at that symbolism and ask yourself, how is it acted out in the dream? What is it doing? What's the message it's conveying? If you dream about a snake, well, that can mean all kinds of different things. What is the snake doing? Is if it's attacking you, well, it might be where you feel like something venomous is after you.
Like
but if
deception.
it's shedding its skin, it's going through a transformation. If the snake is wrapped around a pole, it might be a sign of the caduceus. If it's in your bed, it might be a phallic symbol. So you have to look at what the action is going on in the symbolism, and that will tell you what the symbolism really means.
Well, by far the number one thing to get an understanding is to get your book. Where can people get that?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a great start. And if you go to my website, dreams1-2-3.com, there's a cover that's up in the right-hand corner. You click on it, and there's places where you can link directly to it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's in bookstores. I was told it went out all over the country. And then you can just basically go to a search engine and type in Dreams123. Now, I put the dashes between it, and now it's starting to come up as the top result, even without the dashes, but I can't guarantee that it'll be that way for everybody's, experience. But yeah, look it up there, and they can find me if you go to redditdreams.com. That takes you to the subreddit where I'm a moderator, and I spend as much time there as I can helping people to understand their dreams and interpret them. And I have a blog for people who want to sort of get a taste for the way I approach dreams. It's at dreams123.net, and it's just kind of quick-hitting articles, and I think people can get a good idea of how I interpret dreams.
All right, JM, thank you for being on the
Michael,
program.
Thank you. Lindsay,
thank you so much. It was a great experience to have you on the air.
This is great. You asked great questions.
Oh, well,
I
thank
really
you so much.
It was really engaging.
All right, remember to visit dreams1-2-3.com and get his book. Remember, join us back here Friday as we have Lau Blackburn talk about the Lizard Man of Bishopsville Monster and the Beast of Boggy Creek. It'll be good. This is the Paranormal and Beyond signing off. Enjoy your Thursday. See you right back here Friday. Good night, everybody.
ParanormalResearchSociety.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places, and more can be found at Knights ParanormalResearchSociety.com. Knights with a K, ParanormalResearchSociety.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at Knights Paranormal Research Society.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond with a
Casting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal and Beyond. When it comes to dreams and dreams alone, they have fascinated philosophers for thousands of years. But only recently have dreams been subjected to empirical research and concentrated scientific study. From the prophetic and reoccurring dreams right down to the bold, chilling nightmares that haunts our minds, chances are that you have often found yourself puzzling over the mysterious content of a specific dream, or perhaps left you wondering why you even dream at all. Exactly what purpose does dreams serve, and can they be a subconscious window into our futures? In a moment, renowned author J.M. DeBord, who has been studying and interpreting dreams for the last 2 decades, will be joining us on the program to help us all understand the meaning and symbology behind the elusive movies that play within our heads while we sleep. So get ready as we all now travel to Dreamland with J.M. DeBord when we return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at Knights. Paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knights Paranormal Research Society.com.
Dream on, dream away. I think I'm gonna have to stay.
Will you please be quiet? News, talk, information radio. AM 1230. KLAV. The talk of Las Vegas.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like, I can tell you right now, I believe in the paranormal more than I believe in our government.
There are so many mysteries out there that are still yet to be explained.
You folks have some of your facts wrong, and you just keep talking about generalities.
With all due respect, sir, you have not brought anything to the table to prove us wrong.
This is the Paranormal and Beyond, and it's your show. Call us
Each night, as we close our eyes and slip away from the waking world, we may enter an even richer one, the elusive realm of dreams.
I don't know anybody who isn't fascinated by dreams. I mean, they are outrageous events in our lives.
They can be bewildering, terrifying, inspiring. But do they mean anything? Are dreams the nonsensical byproduct of a sleeping brain, or a window into our unconscious mind, rich with revelations? After more than a century of searching, scientists may finally be nearing an answer by literally watching dreams unfold and testing their impact on both our sleeping and waking lives.
Dreaming is a process, and not only is it useful, it might be essential for making sense of the world.
What are dreams?
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your hosts, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broad